Ladies and gentlemen, there's something remarkable about a woman who fights alone. When we think about the concept of fighting alone, we might imagine a person isolated in a battle, stripped of support, standing in the face of adversity. But what we often overlook is that this woman standing by herself is not as powerless as she may appear. When we think about isolation, the first images that often come to mind are those of loneliness, abandonment, or being without support. We associate it with weakness, vulnerability, and defeat. But isolation can also give rise to a different kind of strength, a strength that is born in the silence and solitude of being by oneself. For many women, the journey of fighting alone is deeply intertwined with the experience of isolation. It's not necessarily a choice, but often a reality they face as they navigate the challenges of life. The isolation isn't just physical. It can be emotional, mental, and spiritual. Yet in this solitude, there exists a profound opportunity for growth, self-reflection, and the cultivation of resilience. When a woman finds herself standing alone, facing her battles without a support system, she is forced to look inward. In these moments, she begins to tap into a deep reservoir of inner strength that she may not have known existed. Isolation, in this sense, becomes a crucible place where the pressures of life refine and purify her. It is here, in the absence of external noise and distractions, that she is able to hear her own voice, understand her own needs, and develop the clarity necessary to move forward. There is a quiet power in solitude, one that allows for self-discovery. When no one is around to provide validation, encouragement, or even criticism, a woman is left with her own thoughts and instincts. This is when she learns to trust herself. She learns to rely on her own decisions and actions, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about recognizing that even in failure, there's an opportunity to rise again, stronger and more confident in her abilities. The isolation forces her to reckon with her fears, doubts, and insecurities. But in doing so, she uncovers a courage that cannot be easily shaken. Moreover, in isolation, a woman has the space to cultivate a sense of autonomy. She is not dependent on others to dictate her choices or define her path. She becomes the author of her own story, choosing her direction and navigating through obstacles based on her own wisdom and judgment. While society often tells women they need to be in community to thrive, the woman who fights alone realizes that sometimes the most powerful growth happens when she stands independent and true to herself. Isolation also offers the opportunity for reflection and healing. Life's wounds are often hidden beneath the surface, masked by the busyness of daily life, the noise of expectations, and the demands of others. But in solitude, the wounds have space to surface, to be acknowledged, and ultimately to heal. The woman who faces life's struggles alone is not untouched by pain. She feels it deeply, and it becomes a part of her journey. But she also learns that through facing her pain, she discovers her own capacity for resilience and healing. There's a depth that comes with suffering, one that can transform a person from fragile to formidable. Finally, isolation often forces a woman to redefine what strength truly means. Strength is not always about being unbreakable, invulnerable, or perfect. It is about the ability to endure, to remain faithful to one's purpose, and to rise again after every fall. It is about learning to be at peace with one's own company, to find comfort and clarity in the midst of chaos. The woman who fights alone is not weakened by her isolation. She is strengthened by it. She learns to stand on her own 2 feet, to face each challenge head on, and to carry herself with a quiet, unshakable strength that comes from within. Social norms are the unwritten rules that govern behavior in society, shaping how individuals are expected to act based on their gender, race, age, or status. For women, these norms can be particularly restrictive, dictating not just how they should behave, but also how they should think, feel, and interact with the world. When a woman chooses to fight alone, she is, in essence, challenging these established norms, stepping outside the prescribed boundaries, and asserting her right to live according to her own definition of strength, success. Historically, society has often placed women in passive roles, expecting them to be nurturers, caretakers, and supporters rather than leaders, warriors, or independent figures. Women have been taught that their value is linked to their relationships with others, whether as mothers, daughters, or wives, and that their worth they step anxious when they step outside of these roles. The act of fighting alone goes against this deeply ingrained societal expectation. It disrupts the idea that women must always be supported or validated by others, particularly by men, in order to be considered strong or capable. A woman who fights alone is not just standing up against external obstacles. She is challenging the very notion that women need to rely on others to survive or thrive. She rejects the idea that strength is defined by how many people are standing beside her, or that her actions need to be validated by the approval of others. This defiance of societal norms takes immense courage, for it means stepping into a space where she is likely to be judged, criticized, or misunderstood. It requires the kind of bravery that comes from knowing who you are and what you are capable of, even when the world doesn't recognize your power. In choosing to fight alone, a woman also confronts the expectation that emotional vulnerability is a sign of weakness. Society often encourages women to be emotional, to express their feelings, and to seek support when they are struggling. While these are important aspects of the human experience, there is an underlying assumption that women cannot be both strong and emotional at the same time. A woman who fights alone shatters this dichotomy, showing that it is possible to carry deep emotions, experience pain, and yet remain steadfast and unyielding in the pursuit of one's goals. She demonstrates that vulnerability does not negate strength, it can amplify it, creating a more authentic and grounded form of resilience. Moreover, breaking social norms means a woman chooses to redefine success on her own terms. For generations, women have been told that their success is measured by external achievements, such as marriage, motherhood, or fitting into a predefined role within society. The woman who fights alone, however, defines success through personal growth, self-reliance, and the ability to persist despite adversity. She does not need external validation to know her worth. This can be incredibly freeing, as it removes the pressure to conform to standards that were never truly meant to serve her. There's also the challenge of being judged for stepping outside the conventional roles. A woman who fights alone may be labeled as difficult, stubborn, or even unfeminine by those who adhere to traditional expectations. These labels are meant to silence her, to push her back into the box that society has carefully constructed for her. But by rejecting these labels, she proves that strength is not about fitting into a mold. It is about embracing the fullness of who she is, even when it doesn't align with what others expect. By breaking social norms, the woman who fights alone becomes a symbol of empowerment. She shows that strength is not about adhering to outdated ideas of what women should be. It is about being true to oneself, embracing one's own power, and choosing to live authentically regardless of whether society approves. In doing so, she not only frees herself, but also paves the way for other women to break free from the constraints of traditional norms. She becomes an example of what is possible when a woman decides that her life belongs to her and no one else. Self-empowerment is the act of taking control of one's own life, decisions, and actions, regardless of external circumstances. It is about recognizing one's worth, harnessing inner strength, and moving forward with the belief that one has the power to shape their own destiny. For a woman who fights alone, self-empowerment becomes a vital force that propels her through the challenges and obstacles she faces. It is not just about overcoming external struggles, but about owning her identity and understanding that her value is not defined by anyone else but herself. In a world that often tries to define women by their relationships to others, self-empowerment is a powerful declaration of independence. A woman who chooses to fight alone is taking the reins of her life and asserting that her worth does not depend on societal standards or the approval of others. For many women, this is an act of reclamation, a reclaiming of their voice, their autonomy, and their right to determine their path. Self-empowerment in this context is about casting off the chains of external expectations and stepping into a version of herself that is true to her deepest desires, values, and goals. A crucial part of this journey is the discovery of one's identity. When a woman fights alone, she is often forced to look within herself to understand who she is beyond the roles that society has prescribed to her. This process of self-discovery can be both difficult and liberating. It requires peeling back layers of external influences, family, culture, tradition, and connecting with the core of her being. It's in these quiet moments of reflection, when she is alone, that she begins to piece together the puzzle of who she is. She learns what drives her, what makes her feel alive, and what her personal strengths are. This process of self-discovery doesn't happen overnight. It is often a slow and painstaking journey filled with moments of doubt, uncertainty, and even pain. But it is through these challenges that a woman learns to trust herself. She learns that her intuition is powerful, her voice matters, and her desires are worthy of pursuit. As she gains confidence in her ability to navigate the world on her own terms, she also begins to redefine what success looks like for her. It is no longer about meeting external expectations or fulfilling someone else's vision of who she should be. It is about finding fulfillment in being true to herself and living a life that is authentically hers. Self-empowerment also comes from the ability to take responsibility for one's own choices. A woman who fights alone understands that while she may not have control over every circumstance, she does have control over how she responds to them. This recognition of agency is incredibly powerful as it shifts the focus from external factors to internal strength. She knows that her actions, her decisions, and her mindset will determine the course of her journey, and she takes ownership of them. Part of embracing self-empowerment is also accepting that mistakes and failures are not indicators of worthlessness, but opportunities for growth. A woman who fights alone doesn't expect perfection from herself. Instead, she understands setbacks are a natural part of the process, and she has the resilience to rise after each fall. This mindset allows her to continuously grow, learn, and evolve, building a stronger and more refined version of herself over time. At its core, self-empowerment is about recognizing that a woman's identity is her own to shape. It is the understanding that her value does not depend on the approval of others, nor does it hinge on conforming to societal expectations. By choosing to fight alone, she is declaring that her identity is not defined by relationships, roles, or labels, but by her own choices, her resilience, and her unwavering belief in her ability to carve out her own path. The battles that many women face are often invisible to the outside world. While physical struggles or visible achievements may capture the attention of others, the internal struggles that women endure, emotional, mental, and psychological, often go unnoticed. These unseen battles are just as, if not more, significant, shaping the woman who chooses to fight alone. They form the foundation of her strength and resilience, yet they remain hidden from the public eye. One of the most profound unseen battles women face is the constant negotiation of self-worth. Society often places unrealistic expectations on women to meet certain standards of beauty, success, and behavior. These external pressures can create deep insecurities, leading to an ongoing internal struggle to feel good enough. A woman may appear confident and composed on the outside, but on the inside, she may be wrestling with self-doubt, questioning her abilities, or feeling the weight of comparison to others. This battle is silent, as it takes place within her own mind, but it is just as real as any external challenge. The struggle to silence the inner critic, to embrace one's uniqueness, and to accept imperfections as part of being human is one of the toughest and most powerful battles a woman can fight. Alongside this emotional turmoil, there are the mental battles that many women face as they strive to balance the demands of everyday life. Women are often expected to wear many hats, taking care of their families, pursuing careers, maintaining relationships, and fulfilling social obligations. Juggling these responsibilities can be exhausting, yet many women feel they must do it all with grace and ease. The mental strain of constantly thinking ahead, planning, and worrying about all the details that others may not even notice can be overwhelming. Often the weight of this mental load is carried silently. The woman who fights alone doesn't always show the mental exhaustion or the anxiety that comes with trying to balance it all. Instead, she presses on because she knows that in the quiet moments, it is her own inner resolve that will carry her through. Women also face the unseen battle of navigating societal expectations of behavior. From a young age, women are often taught to be nurturing, self-sacrificing, and accommodating. This can create an internal conflict when a woman needs to assert her own needs, desires, or boundaries. The fear of being labeled as selfish, difficult, or too much can cause her to suppress her own voice in favor of meeting the expectations placed on her by others. This battle is fought in private as she struggles to reclaim her space, to set boundaries, and to advocate for herself without the fear of judgment or rejection. These internal struggles can take years to untangle, and even when a woman begins to assert her independence, she may still feel the weight of societal pressure to conform to traditional roles. In addition to these emotional and mental battles, many women also face the physical toll of their personal struggles. While some women may experience physical health challenges, others may endure the strain of caring for others, whether it be children, aging parents, or others in need. This caregiving responsibility often goes unnoticed by those around her. The woman who fights alone may find herself sacrificing her own well-being for the sake of others, carrying the emotional and physical burden of those around her. She may feel overwhelmed, fatigued, and on the edge, yet the world around her may not recognize the toll it takes. The unseen battles are the ones fought when no one is watching. They are the internal struggles that shape a woman's strength, her character, and her resolve. These battles may not be visible, but they are just as important as any outward achievement or victory. The woman who fights alone carries these battles in silence, finding the courage to continue even when the world doesn't see her struggle. It is in these unseen battles that she discovers the depth of her resilience and the unshakable power within her. Faith in the process is the quiet belief that, despite uncertainty and challenges, every step taken, every setback faced, and every decision made is part of a larger plan. For a woman fighting alone, this faith becomes a lifeline, a steady anchor in the midst of tumultuous waters. It's the understanding that even when the road ahead is unclear and the outcomes seem out of reach, each moment of effort is not in vain, but contributes to something greater. For many women, the process can seem daunting and overwhelming. Society often expects immediate results, quick fixes, and instant success. But life doesn't always unfold in such neatly packaged timelines. The journey is often messy, slow, and unpredictable. In these times, when success feels far off and the path is unclear, faith in the process is what keeps a woman moving forward. She may not know exactly how things will turn out, but she trusts that every small step counts, even if it feels insignificant in the moment. This faith is rooted in the belief that challenges are not obstacles to be avoided, but lessons to be learned. Every difficulty encountered on the journey serves a purpose, even if that purpose isn't immediately visible. The woman who fights alone understands that growth often comes from struggle. It's through facing adversity that she learns about her own strength, resilience, and ability to adapt. Each challenge she faces deepens her understanding of herself, teaching her new ways to approach the world and her goals. The belief that every setback is simply a step in the right direction, even when it feels like a step backward, fuels her determination. There's also a deep sense of trust that, over time, all the effort will culminate in something greater. The woman who fights alone is not just working toward an immediate goal or result. She is planting seeds for a future that may not be visible yet. Faith in the process means recognizing that even when results aren't apparent, the work is still valuable. Sometimes the most important changes are not visible to others or even to herself until much later. She continues to move forward day by day, knowing that her actions are laying the foundation for the success, growth, and transformation that will eventually come. Moreover, faith in the process requires letting go of the need for constant control. Life is unpredictable, and the more a woman tries to control every outcome, the more likely she is to be frustrated and disappointed. The woman who fights alone learns to trust that, even when she can't see the end result, there's a larger plan at work. She does her part, puts in the effort, and trusts that the process will unfold as it should. Sometimes the journey may take unexpected turns or lead her to places she never imagined, but this too is part of the process. The willingness to surrender to the flow of life while still taking active steps forward is an essential part of maintaining faith in the process. This kind of faith also encourages patience. In a world that prizes instant gratification, learning to trust in a long-term process can be a challenge. But the woman who fights alone knows that patience is a vital part of growth. She understands that success, healing, and transformation don't happen overnight. They require time, consistency, and sometimes a lot of waiting. The patience to trust that things will unfold in their own time, without rushing or forcing, is a powerful act of faith. Faith in the process is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. It's about choosing to believe that no matter how difficult the journey may be, every step is a part of the larger picture. It's about trusting that progress, even if slow, is still progress, and that each small action is contributing to the ultimate goal. This belief empowers a woman to keep going, even when the finish line seems far away, and it nurtures the deep conviction that one day the effort she's poured into the process will bear fruit. Persistence is one of the most powerful forces in the journey of a woman who fights alone. It is not the absence of struggle or the lack of failure. Rather, it is the unwavering determination to continue, regardless of setbacks, doubts, or obstacles. Persistence is about the ability to keep moving forward when the world seems to push back, when the results aren't immediate, and when the path feels too difficult to continue. It's about showing up every single day, even when the outcome is uncertain, and believing that each step taken brings you closer to your purpose. For many women, the road ahead can seem daunting. The world may tell them to give up, that their efforts aren't enough, or that they're fighting a losing battle. It is in these moments that persistence becomes an act of rebellion against the forces that try to keep them down. The woman who fights alone understands that success is not determined by how many times she falls, but by how many times she rises after each fall. She understands that her ability to persist in the face of adversity is what will ultimately define her. It is in this persistent effort that she finds her true power. Persistence is not always glamorous. It's not about making grand gestures or seeking attention for one's efforts. Often persistence is quiet and unremarkable, taking small, consistent steps toward a goal that may not be easily achieved. The woman who fights alone doesn't wait for perfection or for the right moment. She understands that the act of showing up, even when it feels like progress is slow, is what makes the difference. It's about doing the work day after day, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Her persistence builds momentum, and with each action, she becomes stronger, more resilient, and more capable. One of the greatest powers of persistence is that it cultivates resilience. The more a woman persists, the more she learns to weather storms, adapt to changes, and overcome obstacles. Each time she encounters a challenge and keeps going, she proves to herself that she is capable of withstanding even the toughest trials. This resilience doesn't just make her stronger, it transforms her. She learns that there is no situation too difficult, no obstacle too great, and no setback that can completely derail her. Persistence turns her into someone who not only survives adversity but thrives because of it. The power of persistence also lies in the ability to maintain hope. There will be moments when the outcome seems impossible, when the finish line feels unreachable, and when the effort seems fruitless. Yet persistence is what allows a woman to keep going, even when doubt begins to creep in. She keeps her eyes on the vision, trusting that the work she's putting in today will eventually lead to the desired outcome. Even when the journey is long and the path unclear, persistence keeps her grounded in the belief that progress is still happening, even if it's not immediately visible. Moreover, persistence is about cultivating a mindset that doesn't see failure as the end, but as part of the process. The woman who fights alone knows that failure is not a sign of weakness or a reason to quit. It's simply a stepping stone, a lesson learned, a new strategy to try, or an opportunity to grow. With persistence, she redefines failure, seeing it as a temporary setback rather than a permanent roadblock. She understands that the road to success is rarely linear. It's filled with twists, turns, and bumps along the way. But with persistence, she can navigate through it no matter how many times she has to start over. Persistence also builds confidence. Each time a woman persists in the face of difficulty, she proves to herself that she is capable of handling whatever comes her way. Over time, this consistent effort builds a deep sense of self-belief. The more she endures, the more she knows that she can face whatever challenges lie ahead. This self-assurance empowers her to take risks, pursue her dreams, and step into new challenges, knowing that she has the inner strength to keep going, no matter what. The power of persistence is a quiet but unstoppable force. It's the ability to keep moving forward, even when the world says stop. It's the refusal to be defined by obstacles, failures, or doubt. And through it, a woman who fights alone becomes a force to be reckoned with, unyielding, unshakable, and unstoppable. In conclusion, the woman who fights alone is not defined by the absence of support, but by the strength she finds within herself. Her journey is one of resilience, self-empowerment, and unwavering faith in the process. She challenges societal norms, embraces her own identity, and faces unseen battles with courage. Through persistence, she learns to rise again and again, growing stronger with every step. Though her path may be solitary, she is never truly alone because in her, she carries the power to transform adversity into triumph and shape her own destiny.